like to hear something about what the Jewish students were like?
Yes. What were they like in those days? This is wartime now in Northwestern.
Well, Northwestern Jewish Student Organization was built around sororities and fraternities.
That's right. That's right. In those days.
And they.
So were there any Jewish ones at Northwestern?
That's what I mean. There
were.
Oh yes.
Oh.
And their goal was not to advance Judaism in any way. But since they weren't taken in officially by the non-Jewish community on campus, they were trying to out-Americanize all the other fraternities and sororities.
To get accepted.
They contributed, for example, to the YMCA, or they contributed to any collection
Good
that was
cause.
made for causes other than Jewish.
Huh.
And that was a great challenge to Maurice, because the fraternities and sororities had a thing about inviting Maurice from time to time at a fireside. He obviously had his own goals for what he would do with them. And, I just remember him reporting once that he said to them, "How come you're pointing with pride to how you out-contributed every other group on campus to this drive and to that drive, not one penny to any Jewish drive of any kind." And
So he knew where he was to make his points with them.
I remember he said that during one of the tete-a-tetes, somebody told about how they pledged their students to join one of the fraternities. They said the prospects were divided into, they were either black or gray, or neutral, something like that. And the most un-Jewish ones were the ones that were accepted or rushed.
If you tell me there were quotas, there wasn't a very big pool to begin with of people.
That's right. And it definitely was a racist community. I just
You mean within the Jewish groups or around everyone else?
Everywhere.
It was all polarized.
There weren't many blacks in the community. As a matter of fact, I remember, this was before I came into Maurice's life, I remember he told me about, there was a famous restaurant known as Cooley's Cupboard.
Cooley's Cupboard, I think it still
doesn't exist anymore.
No.
But at that point of time, it was the meeting place. Students, faculty, community, they had great chocolate, double chocolate fudge cake with rich chocolate frosting that people would come from all over to have. And one night Maurice had a little group at his hotel apartment, and among them was a black. And they decided that they were going to try to take their chances to be seated at Cooley's Cupboard, which would not allow blacks. And they arrived there, and sure enough, the hostess saw a black in the group and said, "I'm sorry, but I won't be able to seat you." And they said, "We will not move until you seat us." And she became very nervous, and so they went back to talk to the supervisor, somebody higher up, and she came back and said, "I'm sorry, but we can't seat you. It's the rule of the place." They said, "We will not move until you seat us." And then they contacted somebody who was not a manager, who was a daytime manager, And he came running over and reiterated the policy of this place is we can't seat you. We will not move. And they said, you can call the police, you can do anything you want, but we will not move. And this went on for quite a while. And so they were seated. That was the victory of the achieving that goal that night. And I don't suppose anybody will ever forget it. And then after that, as these things go, blacks could come there freely, and
it was accomplished.
That was an exciting, adventurous thing.
Was that before you were married?
No,
you did
yes, this happened before I was married. I just know Mary's telling me about this.
You should be so proud of these moments now.
Hillel, at that point of time, was serving in addition to the students who were Jewish students who were on campus, and there was a lot of interfaith work. He was very close to the Thornton Miriam. There were a group of 4 that were the liberals, Thornton Miriam, and a professor of philosophy by the name of Britton Morris, and the dean of students, let's see if I can remember what her name was. She's subsequently came to the University of Chicago.
Ruth McCarn.
Ruth McCarn. That's right. That's right. And great memory they have. And so they had their own little clique, and they did their thing.
Was Miriam related to this famous political family in Chicago?
No.
Robert?
No. 2 very lovely people. But he was also, the Hillel Foundation was serving the boys who were stationed at that's right.
Where's that?
And so that our students made refreshments for them, and had little dances at the Hillel House on Sunday afternoon when they would come in. And also, at that time, Maurice was commuting to Rockefeller Chapel, to the basement of Rockefeller Chapel, when these same ASDP people would come on Friday night for Shabbat, and they had a short service there. And I remember Maurice used to tell about how it was that Rockefeller, whose portrait hung over that room, on a big portrait on the wall, and that he was smiling down at the Jewish students, Jewish soldiers who were making kiddush, drinking wine, and eating gefilte fish.
What does ASDP stand for?
Let's see if I remember. Must be American soldiers. I don't know.
Anyway, soldiers.
I just knew it as ASVP. I knew.
Was there a Hillel at the University of Chicago at that time, or Maurice started?
No, they were just, at that time, the university, when they had a referral for counseling, they'd refer to Rabbi Louis Mann of the temple, or Rabbi Fox, who was in South Shore at the time. Let's see what else.
So you were at Evanston how long? At Hillel
we
at
came there
Northwestern.
in January of 43, because we were married in December of 42. So by the time our honeymoon was over, we landed in Evanston. It was January of 43. And that was, oh yes, let me just tell you, since this is an interview that's very personal, then I'll stick to the personal part of it. 6, 7, 8 months after we were married, I became pregnant. And the sororities, Jewish sororities and fraternities that had by that time become very close to Maurice, and someone to me,
And you, yes.
decided that they had to have some part in this hello baby that was about to be born. So they decided to run a contest to see who could bring a winning name.
Winning
for the
name,
baby.
oh, how sweet.
And each one undertook to bring the name of a girl or a boy, whichever it was going to be. And guess what? The independents headed at that time, I think by, I don't know, Elliot Crumbine he still lives out in the
Just
North
a
Shore.
name.
And Elliot, he's married now to Elaine. Let's see what her maiden name was. It's Elliot Crumbine now, but Elaine was then a student of the Independents. And she came one night, rang the doorbell, and they said that they're the Independents recommended or were part of the contest, and they chose the name Davida if it were to be a girl, and Daniel if it were to be a boy, or David if it were, I don't remember, but I just remember that the reason I kept Davida Pekarsky, it sounded so euphonous and it sounded so natural, and we had never heard the name before, and we found ourselves every day, Davida Pekarsky.
Lo and behold.
That's how Davida came to be known.
Named by consensus.
That's how her name.
That's wonderful.
And
it is a beautiful name.
yes.
Yeah.
And well,
So then you were the new mommy, the new parent.
I was the new parent. I was the new parent. That's right. And Davida was born in an Evanston hospital. And I remember on the day she was born, we called my family in Minneapolis to announce the birth and to already tell them what the name was. And my eldest sister, who called me back, I don't know, maybe an hour later, and she said, "Is it definite about the name?" I said, "It sure is." And, none of us really like it. We can't get used to it. And so I remember say it over and over 100 times.
What a sweet answer.
And look at